The immigration debate is back front and center. Caitlin Huey-Burns, CBS News political correspondent, joins us now. Welcome, Caitlin. Thank you so much. So does the White House or Congress have any plans to take action given the controversy of Governor Greg Abbott and Governor Ron DeSantis sending migrants to the vice president's house and Martha's Vineyard?
Well, Jack, right now they are kind of fighting on the political front. They've been calling this a stunt. They've been criticizing it, but they aren't going as far as some others, like Governor Gavin Newsom in California, want them to do, which is to call upon the Justice Department to get involved. Right now, that is not an option on the table. At least that's not what they say that they want to be doing. There are also questions about what the White House and what Congress can do. And a lot of this revolves around the fact that there has not been legislation in Congress to address this, even though there have been calls over the years for some kind of, large immigration bill to address the issues at the border and also address the larger problems in the immigration law as it stands. But that has not been completed. It has not really been started on Capitol Hill. So right now, this is kind of all about the politics. And at this point, Republicans think that this is something that is a winning argument for them heading into the midterm elections, and they're trying to put Democrats on defense on this issue.
I was just going to ask you, speaking of the politics, has there been any indication whether this controversy has hurt the administration politically?
Well, it really depends on which state, which district, which race. Republicans have been really laser focused on a couple of different issues. Top of mind, of course, is the economy and inflation. But immigration also figures to be something that motivates their base of support. And that's why you see governors, and especially in these particular states, taking this kind of action and trying to put this back in the faces, essentially, of Democrats. Whether it is going to be an issue with voters in the middle, that's kind of where the politics comes in. And that's why you see kind of both sides really going at it on this issue. There's also a question about what this does for Republicans. Republicans have made inroads with Latino voters over the years. It was something that really helped them in 2020 and something that they've been touting heading into 2022. Does this alienate Latino voters? Of course, not a monolithic group by any means, and immigration is an issue that doesn't just affect Latino voters, of course. But does this backfire in any sense, or is this a way for them to address certain voters that they want to reach?
I did want to ask you about President Biden's interview with 60 Minutes on Sunday. What has been the reaction since the president told Scott Pelley that he intends to run in 2024, but that it's not set in stone? I mean, who else is being talked about running, given the low popularity numbers for both the president and the vice president?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people have been speculating about what exactly that means. He has said over and over again that he intends to run. But what was interesting in that interview is kind of he laid out the logistical things that have to happen if he declares that he is running. Logistical things in terms of setting up a campaign, has consequences for raising money and all sorts of things. But also you have a lot of Democrats wondering, what he will do, and a lot of Democrats being asked, especially in competitive races where Biden could be a drag on their election prospects, whether they want him to run again in 2024. What's interesting here, though, is that you do have a lot of Democrats who would likely be interested in this position, and you're seeing moves being made by them in some of these states, although they are giving deference to Biden because he is the leader of the party and he hasn't announced what he wants to do. And if any Democrat were to get ahead of the president, that would make them even more vulnerable heading into these midterm elections. So a lot is kind of riding on how these midterms shape up. If Democrats do better than expected, does that stave off some of these Democrats who may be interested in challenging Biden, or at least coming up to the fore? That remains to be seen. And if Democrats take a beating in the House and the Senate and in some of these governors' races as well, does that give Democrats a little more license to say, hey, maybe it's time to change course? So a lot will be riding on these races. But you do have people trying to boost their national profile on these key issues. Gavin Newsom comes to mind in California. He's been wading into these fraught national issues on abortion and immigration, especially lately.
A lot to watch. Caitlin Huey-Burns, CBS News political correspondent, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. And be sure to see more of the latest political reporting tonight on the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell right here on CBS 11 at 5:30 p.m.